Something is happening inside Texas that most people aren't talking about. People aren't just moving to Texas anymore, they're moving within it. And the cities they're leaving, some of them are names you'd expect to see on a best places to live list. Frisco, Round Rock, the Woodlands, Austin. People are packing up and going somewhere else, not out of state, just somewhere that still makes financial sense. Because the same affordability pressure that pushed people out of California and New York is now showing up inside Texas itself, city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood. And the people leaving aren't giving up on Texas. They're making a smarter decision within it. Today, we're breaking down 10 Texas cities people are leaving right now, and exactly where the data shows they're going instead. Because understanding where people are moving from tells you just as much about opportunity as understanding where they're moving to. And one city on this list has the most documented outmigration story in the entire state right now. Five years ago, Frisco was the answer. The city DFW buyers pointed to when they needed top-tier schools, master plan communities, and a price point that still made sense. That story is over. Frisco's median home is now pushing past $550,000, and the buyers who made Frisco what it is are now being priced out of the very city they helped build. The data shows it clearly. Outbound movement from Frisco has been accelerating as the price gap between Frisco and its northern neighbors widens past the point where most buyers can ignore it. And this is where things flip, because the buyers leaving Frisco aren't leaving the DFW corridor. They're moving north. Denton is absorbing a significant portion of that movement. Same I-35 corridor, same DFW access. Two universities. A live music scene on the square that locals will tell you rivals anything in Austin. Homes in Denton sitting in the low to mid $300,000, meaningfully below what Frisco is now asking. And for buyers who need to go even further to make the math work, Sherman sits 30 miles north with homes around $315,000 and a $13 billion Toyota plant, reshaping its entire economic trajectory. The people leaving Frisco figured out something the broader market is still catching up to. The value that used to be in Frisco is now 30 miles north, and most buyers haven't made that drive yet. Round Rock was the move people made when Austin got too expensive. The smart play, Dell's headquarters anchoring the local economy, strong schools, master-planned communities, and home prices that made the Austin metro feel accessible even when Austin itself didn't. That window has closed. Round Rock is now sitting at a median around $380,000 to $400,000. The buyers who moved there 5 years ago to escape Austin pricing effectively recreated the problem they were running from. And the buyers arriving now are discovering that Round Rock has become its own affordability ceiling. The movement out of Round Rock is going east. Pflugerville is absorbing a growing share of buyers priced out of the Round Rock and Cedar Park corridor, still inside the Austin metro, still connected to everything the corridor offers. The homes sitting in the low to mid $300,000, meaningfully below what Round Rock is now asking. And 15 minutes further east sits Hutto, a city that was farmland a decade ago and is now absorbing the overflow that Pflugerville itself is starting to generate. Homes in Hutto still sitting in the mid to high $200,000 in many areas. Samsung's $17 billion semiconductor facility just outside Hutto and Taylor is reshaping the entire eastern corridor of the Austin metro. The buyers leaving Round Rock aren't leaving the metro. They're finding the part of it that still makes financial sense. And right now, that part is east of where most people are looking. The Woodlands was engineered to be one of the most livable suburbs in America, and it succeeded completely. 28% of the land dedicated green space, streets that curve around the forest instead of cutting through it, town center on the waterway that feels more like a planned city than a Houston suburb. That vision created something genuinely rare, and the market has priced it accordingly. The median home in the Woodlands is now pushing $500,000 to $550,000. $200,000 depending on the neighborhood. For a Houston suburb, that's a number that eliminates a significant portion of buyers who would have considered it 5 years ago. And those buyers are now doing something very specific. They're driving 15 minutes north on I-45. Conroe is absorbing the overflow that the Woodlands can no longer accommodate at an accessible price point. Same corridor, same Lake Conroe access, same Montgomery County School District in many areas. Homes sitting around $283,000 to $296,000. The Woodlands Parkway connects the two cities directly. Buyers in Conroe are shopping at the same H-E-B, using the same medical facilities, accessing the same waterway recreation, just not paying Woodlands prices to do it. For buyers who had the Woodlands on their list but couldn't make the numbers work, the move isn't to abandon the North Houston corridor. It's to move 15 minutes up the road. McKinney built its reputation on something rare in DFW, a historic downtown that actually felt historic, a city that had character before the master-planned communities arrived. And for years, that combination, character plus growth plus relative affordability, made McKinney one of the most desirable addresses in all of North Texas. The relative affordability part is what's changed. McKinney's median home is now sitting in the $420,000 to $450,000 range, depending on the area. That's not a budget market anymore. And the buyers who are leaving McKinney are following a pattern that's become familiar across the DFW corridor. They're moving north to where the value hasn't fully caught up to the demand yet. Sherman is the primary destination absorbing McKinney outflow right now. A city with a genuine downtown square, brick storefronts, no local restaurants, a courthouse that still anchors the community, and a $13 billion Toyota battery manufacturing plant that's about to reshape the entire economic identity of Grayson County. Homes in Sherman sitting around $315,000. For buyers leaving McKinney at $420,000 to $450,000, that gap is significant. And Gainesville sits even further north on I-35 for buyers who need to go all the way to make the math work. The Frank Buck Zoo, the Santa Fe Depot Museum, a historic district that hasn't been sanitized into a lifestyle brand. Homes in the low to mid $200,000. The buyers leaving McKinney aren't leaving North Texas. They're finding the version of North Texas that still has room. Cedar Park was supposed to be the answer that outlasted Round Rock, further from Austin's core. More room to grow, a city that could absorb demand without overheating the way closer-in suburbs had. That thesis held for a while. It doesn't hold anymore. Cedar Park is now sitting at a median that rivals Round Rock, pushing into the $380,000 to $400,000 range in many areas. And the buyers who specifically chose Cedar Park because it was more affordable than Round Rock are now watching Cedar Park approach the same ceiling they were trying to avoid. The movement out of Cedar Park is going south and east, toward the I-35 corridor cities that still have room below $300,000. Temple is the most logical destination for Cedar Park buyers who need to stay connected to Central Texas. 1 hour south on I-35. Baylor, Scott, and White anchoring the economy. New construction communities actively building well under $300,000. And Belton, sitting right next to Temple on I-35, is absorbing buyers who need to go even further to find the price point that makes sense. Lake Belton sits right there, 1,120 surface acres of water, with marinas, fishing, and camping that most Cedar Park residents drive past on the way to somewhere more expensive. The buyers leaving Cedar Park figured out that the I-35 corridor still has value. It's just further south than most people have been willing to look. If you're finding this breakdown useful, go ahead and subscribe. This is exactly the kind of content we're building here every week. Now, the first half of this list was about suburban markets that have outgrown their own affordability. The second half is different. These are the major Texas metros where the outmigration is larger, more documented, and more consequential for buyers trying to make decisions right now. The redirects from here aren't just cheaper alternatives. They're the markets absorbing the most real movement. Pay attention here, because this is where the data gets serious. San Antonio is where this list gets more complicated. Because San Antonio isn't losing people the way Austin is losing people. It's experiencing something more specific: internal displacement. The buyers who moved to San Antonio 5 years ago to escape California and Austin pricing are now watching San Antonio move in the same direction they were running from. The median home sits around $300,000. Property taxes in Bexar County are among the higher rates in the state, and the monthly payment math, when you factor in taxes, insurance, and current mortgage rates, is starting to push first-time buyers and budget-conscious families out of the market. Those buyers aren't leaving the region. They're moving to the edges of it. New Braunfels is absorbing significant San Antonio spillover, but at $345,000 median, it's becoming its own ceiling for some buyers, which is why Seguin is the redirect that makes the most sense right now. 30 minutes east of downtown San Antonio on I-10, a city of 30,000 people on the Guadalupe River. Historic downtown square, one of the oldest continuously operating opera houses in Texas. Homes in the low to mid $200,000. Still within reach of San Antonio's job market and medical center. The buyers leaving San Antonio's core aren't abandoning the region. They're finding the version of it that their budget can still reach. And most of them are landing closer than most people would expect. The Austin suburbs as a whole are experiencing something the data makes impossible to ignore. Round Rock, Cedar Park, Leander, Georgetown. All of them have been absorbing Austin overflow for years, and all of them are now generating their own overflow. The pattern is compounding. Buyers get priced out of Austin, they move to the suburbs absorb the demand and reprice, and then the suburban buyers have to move again. That second move is what's happening right now at scale across the entire Austin metro, and the data shows where those buyers are landing. Waco is absorbing a growing share of Austin's suburban outflow. Buyers who need I-35 access but can't reach the pricing that the Austin corridor now requires. Homes in Waco sitting in the mid to high $200,000. 2 hours from Austin, 2 hours from Dallas. Baylor University, anchoring the economy. A downtown that has genuinely transformed over the last decade. And Temple is absorbing the buyers who need to stay closer to Austin's employment base but can't make the suburban pricing work anymore. 1 hour north on I-35, new construction communities actively building well under $300,000. Baylor Scott and White providing institutional employment stability. The Austin suburban exodus isn't random. It's following the I-35 corridor north to the cities where the math still works. And the two cities absorbing the most of that movement are both within 2 hours of everything the corridor offers. Houston has been the most affordable major metro in Texas for decades. That identity is getting harder to maintain. Inside the loop, the Heights Midtown Montrose, prices have more than doubled in the last decade. And even in the outer corridors, the math is tightening in ways that are pushing buyers further out than they expected to go. The metro median sits around $320,000, but Houston's property taxes are among the highest in the country. When you add taxes to the mortgage, the true monthly cost of ownership surprises a lot of buyers who only looked at the list price, and those buyers are moving. Katy is absorbing significant Houston outflow to the west, but Katy itself has been repricing as demand compressed into it, which is why Conroe to the north is the most documented redirect for Houston buyers right now. The 2025 U-Haul Growth Index ranked Conroe 20th nationally for net inbound moves. Number 1 fastest growing Houston suburb in the country. Since 2010, the population has more than doubled. Homes around $283,000 to $296,000. Lake Conroe, strong schools. 40 minutes to downtown on I-45. And Willis, sitting just north of Conroe on the same corridor, is absorbing the buyers who need to go one step further to find pricing that still feels manageable. New construction starting in the upper $200,000. Lake Conroe access from both sides. The buyers leaving Houston's inner corridors aren't leaving the Houston story. They're following it north to where it still makes financial sense. Dallas dropped nearly 4% in 2025, and buyers who were waiting for that correction to create opportunity are now discovering something uncomfortable. Even a 4% drop on an already expensive market doesn't make it affordable. The median home in Dallas proper is still sitting around $400,000. And in neighborhoods like Oak Cliff, Bishop Arts, and East Dallas, prices that were accessible 3 years ago have moved well past what first-time buyers and relocating families can reach. The correction happened, it just didn't correct far enough. And the data shows clearly where the buyers who gave up on Dallas are going. Fort Worth is the primary redirect. While Dallas dropped 4%, Fort Worth barely moved. Tarrant County held its median price essentially flat through the entire 2025 correction. And that stability is exactly what buyers who got burned by Dallas volatility are looking for. Homes in Fort Worth sitting around $300,000 to $320,000. Healthcare, manufacturing, aerospace, logistics, all running simultaneously. No single sector dominating, no single point of failure. The Stockyards National Historic District in Fort Worth has been operating continuously since 1866. That's not a manufactured identity. That's 160 years of genuine Texas culture sitting inside a city that proved in 2025 it could hold its value when the market around it softened. And for buyers who need to go further to make the math work, Mesquite sits 30 minutes east of Dallas on I-30, with homes in the low to mid $200,000 and DART light rail connecting directly to downtown Dallas. The buyers leaving Dallas aren't leaving DFW. They're finding the parts of it that still deliver what Dallas used to. Austin is number 1 on this list because the out-migration story here is the most documented, the most dramatic, and the most consequential of any city in Texas right now. Pods named Austin one of the cities with the highest number of move-outs in the entire country in 2025. The average seller in Austin lost $34,064 to price drops and concessions in the first quarter of 2026 alone. Homes sitting on the market for an average of 91 days. That's the highest since March 2011. This is what happens when a market outruns the people who made it what it was. The median home in Austin proper sits around $540,000, down from its pandemic peak, but down from an extraordinary high. And the monthly payment on a $540,000 home at current mortgage rates is not a middle-class purchase. The people leaving Austin aren't leaving because they stopped loving the city. They're leaving because the city stopped being financially accessible to the people who built its culture and its community. And the data shows 2 primary directions those buyers are going. San Antonio is absorbing a significant share of Austin outflow. A major city of 1.5 million people with military installations, a growing healthcare sector, and a median home price around $300,000. For Austin buyers with equity, San Antonio represents a genuine upgrade in what their money can buy. And the Hill Country Corridor, New Braunfels, Wimberley, Fredericksburg, is absorbing the buyers who want to stay close to Austin's orbit without paying Austin's prices. New Braunfels, in particular, sits 45 minutes south on I-35 with a seller's market, a 6% year-over-year appreciation, and a lifestyle that Austin buyers specifically seek out. The Comal River running through the city, hill country access, and a median home price that, while rising, still sits $200,000 below Austin proper. The buyers leaving Austin made a calculation that more and more people are reaching every month. The city is still worth loving. It's just not worth the price it's currently asking. And the places they're going are telling you something about where value actually lives in Texas right now. So here's what this list actually tells you. The affordability crisis that people associate with California and New York has arrived in Texas, not statewide, but city by city, neighborhood by neighborhood. The same pattern that hollowed out coastal markets is now playing out inside the state that people move to in order to escape it. Frisco pricing out buyers who shaped it. They're going to Denton and Sherman. Round Rock hitting its own ceiling. The movement is going to Pflugerville and Hutto, the Woodlands becoming a prestige market. Conroe is 15 minutes north. McKinney following Frisco's trajectory. Sherman and Gainesville still have room. Cedar Park repricing, Temple and Belton are absorbing the overflow. San Antonio tightening. Seguin is still open 30 minutes east. Austin's suburbs compounding. Waco and Temple are where the I-35 corridor still works. Houston's true cost surfacing. Conroe and Willis are where the math still makes sense. Dallas correcting but still expensive. Fort Worth held, and Mesquite has DART rail. And Austin, the city that started all of this, sending buyers south to San Antonio and into the hill country. The most important thing to take from this video is this. The people who are moving aren't making random decisions. They're following a very specific logic. Find the city that delivers what the expensive city used to deliver before the price caught up to the promise. That city exists in Texas. It's just not the one making headlines anymore. If you're serious about making a smart living decision in Texas in the next 6 to 12 months, understanding where people are leaving tells you exactly where the opportunity still is, not after everyone figures it out. Now, because by the time these cities show up in headlines, the opportunity is already gone. Which city on this list surprised you most? Or are you already considering one of these redirects? Drop it in the comments below. And if you want deeper individual breakdowns on any of these markets, make sure you're subscribed, because that's exactly what this channel is building toward.